Holy fuck, Simone utters, as she watches the one of many net news broadcasts of the unprecedented chaos spanning across most of Central and the controlled territories of the new Federated Safeguard Alliance. Near-endless reports, images and footage of Malachite flooding in feral, ravenous hordes, with no rhythm or reason for being there in the first place. Confusion and terror reign as the galaxy reels from this sudden out-of-nowhere assault. Like at a snap of fingers, these creatures of death and chaos emerged all at once, and, through still unknown means, replenish at an alarming level that many defensive forces are struggling terribly to contend with. The only clear, advantageous element that the defensive forces have is that these crustaceans seem to be truly mindless outside basic instinct and care not for their lives or the preservation of them. These feral Malachite make boundless mistakes when confronted with any decent strategic opposition. That, or they didn't care or were capable of caring about said mistakes. Upon the screen, she, Chuck, Jackie and Donna are watching a female Opaloon reporter, arms tremble and slightly rattle, as she does her best to push through as professionally as possible. More reports are coming in. The Terran Union has confirmed the presence of this unparalleled attack upon the galaxy on all of their high worlds. However, they have already contained the assault on Titan. Already we are finding many central member governments are requesting the Union's immediate military assistance now that their stronghold world is secure. However, the Union has yet to pledge any forces anywhere, the reporter states. What do they expect? We still have other worlds and colonies to worry about, Donna comments in angered shock. Then we have the Federation now to prioritize too. Central's military is the largest in the galaxy, but that's apparently not enough. Seriously, we're not their war dogs anymore, and yet they still expect us to come running in at the snap of their fingers? Honey, they're scared. We all are, Jackie points out. Simone crosses her arms, feeling sick in her gut. Scared is an understatement. People think whatever this is will be bad, but it's just the warm-up before the real thing comes, she says before biting her cheek. Central has the biggest military, but it also has the most ground to cover. Despite its size, it's going to be spread real thin dealing with all this. I can't blame them for asking for help. Thankfully for them, the FSA is far more concentrated, so they might just clear their wars fast enough to provide that aid soon. But then the FSA will be spread thin as well, Chuck inputs. Granted, it will be tremendously helpful, but with other factors being at play, this feels like a perfect setup to strike. What I don't understand, however, is the death toll this will all cause. Don't the Minarians want to conquer without more death than what's necessary? This must mean they have either changed from that philosophy, or a group under them is primarily behind this. Simone nods. Gaia fucks or your father, she says. Probably both, she supposes. Precisely. Clearly those things invading are some variant of the Malachite species we've encountered before, though from what the reports are saying they don't seem to have nearly the level of intelligence we'd expect. Central still had their world under quarantine as far as I knew, which tells me these were all smuggled. Yet at this unprecedented number, I don't know how that would be possible, Chuck ponders, scratching the sides of her head in stress. They could store a lot more fertilized eggs than adults on smuggling ships, Simone hesitantly points out before shaking her head. Regardless, what's our next move? Chuck closes her eyes and steps away to mull that precise question over. Beginning to pace with numbered legs, she reevaluates all of her developing plans. With the FSA and specifically Zartuk forces currently preoccupied for who knows how long, her plans to potentially take back her home becomes less and less immediately realistic. We figured our enemies would attempt to fully free the Malachite from their quarantine. I imagine the Central Fleet station there still remains, if for no reason than to investigate the source of the Malachite. Yet no additional forces would be able to respond effectively enough with the stars and the chaos that is in, she says, before turning to look directly at Simone. I believe my father still wants to use the intelligent Malachite in his plans to attack the stars. Perhaps this is the first stage of it all, and the liberation of the homeworld is the next. If so, we can't allow that to happen." "So that's where we're heading next?" the redhead asks. Chuck tilts her head and gives an uncertain expression. "The options in my mind are that we either warn and aid in the defense of the Malachite quarantine fleet, or we go to the mostly likely source of the main fleets and eliminate the head of the snake," the princess replies, uncertain which she personally preferred to pursue. "So commit to liberating the Cali homeworld and off your father before they can liberate the Malachite?" Simone says, almost amused by the situation. "But I highly doubt Brom's forces alone will be enough to do that, especially with our allies a bit tied up at the moment." "I know, but if my brother or I manage to take control of the throne and therefore the bulk of the Cali fleets again, we'd be in a much better position than fighting them, wearing everyone down and giving the Minerian Empire a more enticing entrance," Chuck points out. "That's assuming those fleets will be loyal to you. Wasn't the military brass kind of the ones leading the charge of your father's orders? What's going to stop them from just ignoring you?" the redhead counters for the Cali to consider. Chuck hesitates before answering, knowing Simone won't like it. "That's a gamble we would have to take. The top brass may be against my brother and I, however the majority serving those ships are far less likely to comply with murdering the last of their royal line. I predict likely infighting, but in the end I'd be putting my faith in my people choosing to do what's right. Hopefully we can fully reveal the truth to all my people in order to help uncloud judgment, but that's only if we're granted the opportunity to do so," Chuck says. To Chuck's surprise, Simone doesn't immediately point out the big issues with such a plan. However, the redhead does seem to put more thought into it as Chuknook slithers in the front door, with Bree carrying Avery in too. "Any word from the ambassador? Are your parents all right?" Simone asks the woman. "My folks, thank the stars, didn't make planetside before the attacks. Our home district is a war zone right now. They'll be dropped off at a military base until further notice. As for the ambassador and his staff, well, at the moment, his and my co-worker status is unknown. CSH is getting internally hit hard right now. I'm still on standby until his situation is confirmed. So this colony may be receiving a few defensive ships soon because I'm the current acting ambassador. I'm qualified and agreed to it when I directed," she answers, seeming to not quite believe that last bit herself. Jackie sighs in a bit of guilty relief. "No offense, but I've never been more glad to know Union ships are coming," he says. Bree nods understandingly. "Since this colony is out of the way, in MiG territory, easily defensible and still completely secure, it has been determined that this is the best place for me to be for the time being. I guess I'm really glad that it won't just be me being protected here," she says, before bouncing her young boy in her arms. Chuknook adjusts his cap on his head, as his scales shift to an orange tint. "Your Majesty, the Quipchap is ready and at your command," he informs the Cali. "How shall we proceed?" Bree furrows her brow and takes in the expression of Chuck and Simone in concern. "Wait, guys? What does that mean? Where else is there to go? Isn't it safe enough here for the time being?" she inquires. "For our kids, yeah," Simone nods. "But hell is about to get a lot hotter, and we're the only ones that can do anything about it right now," she replies with a soft smirk. "Indeed. Time is of the essence, and as our enemies make their moves, we must as well," Chuck adds, as she walks up next to her Terran. Simone looks to Jackie and Donna. "I'm really sorry, but is it alright if Jamie and SJ have a sleepover or two at their cousins?" she asks. Donna and Jackie look to one another, sharing the same look of concern for their friend's potential fate. "You can count on us," Donna assures. "Colony brats watch out for each other." "We're family," Jackie agrees with a deep nod. Thanks, guys, Simone says gratefully, before mentally returning to her thoughts on the dilemma. Chuck, maybe we can do both, she proposes to the Callie. Both? How? The princess questions in surprise. Sighing, Simone scratches at the back of her head. I'm obviously no tactician or anything, and it's not the best option if we want to avoid as much fighting as possible. But what if, while your father's fleet engages the Central Fleet, Brom's forces take the opportunity to seize Sin Montas and the throne? Then, if feasible, we gather what we got and jump to the Malkite world to hopefully end the fighting one way or another. Chuck thinks on that, while Bree's eyes widen at the unexpected mention of Brom. I'm uncertain if I like that idea. We'd be essentially using the Central Fleet as decoys. Depending on how far my father expanded our fleets, there's a chance Central won't hold out long enough for us to possibly come in to assist. And that's assuming we can even eliminate my father and reclaim the throne in any reasonable time frame. There's a decent likelihood we will be stalled or even repelled. I don't know, love. I'll admit that no option is good considering the manpower at our disposal, and the guess that my father would be located on Sin Montas and not accompanying the fleets. Maybe if we warn the Central Fleet, they can prepare. Maybe gain a few spare reinforcements. Simone raises her eye tufts as an idea emerges in her mind. Of course. But what if I said I might be able to get help from the FSA after all, she says, while raising a hand. With their help we can accomplish both. Certainly, love, but how? Aren't they preoccupied? The princess points out. Yup, but they also know the stakes, and there's one ace up our sleeves we haven't addressed yet. But to even entertain it, I have to make a quick run to the Quip Chap. I'll be right back, the redhead says, as she turns to go there. But before she leaves, she puts a hand on the captain's shoulder and leans in for a whisper. I think it would be best if the Quip Chap remains here. If the worst is to come to pass and find its way to this colony, this place is going to need every lifeboat it can get. But make sure to get our family out of here and run, alright? Chognok scales pale slightly, but he nods. I see the importance in that. Very well. The Quip Chap will remain here, he promises in a returning whisper. Thanks, Simone replies earnestly, before hurrying out towards the bay where the ship sits. Bree blinks and lets out a long, stressed breath. No clue if she can actually pull that off, but since having front row seats of you guys pulling off something just as crazy, I really hope she can, she says, while looking at the closed door. I think I know what she's planning, Chuck replies in lively consideration. If you will excuse me, I have to speak in private with my brother. She politely dismisses before stepping into another room. Hey, Red, Thorn says aloud, as the redhead bores past the entrance doors of the Quip cargo bay, causing Simone to jump and clutch her chest. Geez, Thorn! What are you doing here? She says, as her heart calms. There's a little something that I need to tell you, before I follow you into the next batch of chaotic insanity. Perhaps for the last time if the state of the stars is of any indication, he chuckles. Okay, I'm sure it can wait. Time is of the essence right now, and I got to make a pretty big call. One that might just save the fucking universe, the redhead replies, as she thumbs back towards the medbay. It really can't, because once things get kicked off, you're going to need to trust everyone at your back. And there's info you ought to know from me. I'll be quick about it, Thorn insists, as his mechanical cyan eye lights up, followed by the cargo doors closing. Admittedly not liking the atmosphere being created at that moment, Simone bites her cheek and crosses her arms. All right. What's going on here, Thorn? She inquires, with her full attention. Looking down almost shamefully, Thorn reaches into his duster and pulls out a datapad. I've been lying to you, kid. Big time, he admits, as he hands it over. Accepting it, Simone looks at it. She recognizes it immediately, but is still very confused. It's her old academy, with a group of graduating cadets in ceremony. However, she immediately doesn't recognize any of the faces, not until she sees a young woman that sparks anger in her, and a familiar young man standing right next to her. Simone's grip on the datapad tightens as a sense of rage courses through her. "It was no accident that I fell into your group," she remarks in a cold tone. "Nope. In fact, I sought you out once I caught wind of your desertion," Thorn responds honestly. Simone deactivates the datapad and presses the top to her forehead, holding back her growing anger. "How well did you know each other?" she asked. "She is my cousin. Grew up on Titan together, practically siblings. At least, we were," he answers, with such bluntness that it takes the redhead a full minute to process. With her cracking rage, a genuine hurt floods in its cracks. "You're shitting me," she mutters in emotional disbelief. Lowering the datapad, she looks at this man directly in the eye. "The actual hell, Thorn! What haven't you told me? After all this fucking time?" she demands. Thorn purses his lips and scratches at his growing facial hair. "Honestly, I simply never wanted to. I cut myself off from my old life in every way possible, and didn't intend on rebuilding those bridges, ever. Blood ain't what makes family, you know that. By the time you and I met, we were adults and complete strangers. But through the one tie we did have, I decided to, at the very least, lend you a little help," he explains. "I didn't say anything even after I grew to like and respect you because, well, I am a selfish man. I'm likely to kick the bucket at some point soon. I don't have the cleanest record, and to reiterate, blood means next to nothing to me." Simone's jaw pops as she clenches it. "How much did you know about what my mother has done? For the Minarians, and what she did to my father?" she demands. "Nothing. Nada. Zilch," the man says without hesitation. "We stopped talking a long while ago. I didn't know the level of her involvement in all this until that multi-ambush in the CSH, and the fact I thought she was actually dead up until that point." The redhead's eyes open in realization, and her hand falls upon the very pistol the old cyborg man gifted her. "Where did you actually go during all that?" she says in severe warning. Thorn's shoulders slouch a bit, though he's not surprised by this reaction. Raining a defensive hand upwards, he waves reassuringly. "That I was truthful about. I just withheld admittedly big details on how I helped those terrorists along, and out of CSH, I tapped into the fancy cyborg's network and tracked down their covert operations center. Once I snuck in and had the opportunity, I killed Harkon," he said, as he demonstratively ejected a long thin blade from his mechanical arm. Simone blinks and shakes her head. "Why not tell us that?" she asks, completely and utterly confused. Thorn retracts the blade and stuffs his hands in his duster pockets, while harshly sighing. "'Cause I don't rightly know, Red. I don't tell people things that involve my personal life. Never have, never plan on doing such. The nature of the whole thing became personal, and I just did what I always have. And I guess I was uncertain of what you would think if I shared how I managed to access the Assassin's network. 'Cause my current appearance ain't no coincidence." He resembles showing genuine discomfort in having to admit all this. "You were one of them?" Simone says, nearly choking on her words, begging for his answer to be no. "Simone," Thorn says with a sternness, "I tell you to shoot me here and now if I ever was. No, I ain't ever been in a damn cult wanting to hurry on up the greatest threat to everything and everyone across the stars. I know you're not likely to take my word as gospel right now, but no, I was not ever one of them bastards." Earnestly relieved beyond belief, Simone decides to believe him. "Okay, Then how are you connected to him? She asks. I'll explain as much as I know, Red. But first, you need to know that Ember was just leaving as I arrived to kick Harkin's bucket. But the only reason I knew it was her was from her voice. I might have tried killing two birds with one stone, but I guess I hesitated too long because well, like I said, I thought she was dead. I guess I'm lying to myself about blood not meaning much. I was too shocked. Almost glad to see her, you know. But now I regret not acting when I had the chance. She's a deranged maniac that needs to be put down. I do wholeheartedly believe that. Looking down again, Thorn takes a moment to collect his thoughts. Anyway, so it turns out that I'm something like a prototype to these terrorist cyborgs. Hell of a thing to say aloud. A lot of the same tech, just mine is like an ancient model. The base remote connection system I have is also an old variant of what they have. Hence how I managed to connect to him so easily. Well, relatively easily. It was not a seamless process and hurt my brain's neural connection like hell. They're on another level. Ember, as far as I'm aware, wasn't involved with my reconstruction, but she inherited the program researching and developing what's keeping me ticking right now. I suspect it was my case of survival that drew her to it. She always had a knack and deep interest for cybernetic technology and such. Looking into it, the program, it officially went defunct when she died in her research lab vessel after it exploded. There were a few attempts to pick up the program by some others, but it didn't go anywhere other than being funneled into various medical application research projects. I suppose she decided to disappear and continue her work for another cause. A fucked up one. But yeah, that's all I wanted you to know. And that I'm with you in doing what has to be done 100%. Crossing her arms in a more self-hug than in a standoff manner, Simone listens to his explanations intently. Her rage tempers, but plenty of hurt still remains. The sense of betrayal is thankfully not as bad as she feared it would be, yet it's still present, despite admitting to herself that she kinda gets why he did what he did. After he finishes, she slowly nods and wipes her face with a shoulder. Okay. Thanks for telling me all this now rather than never. But I don't know, Thorn. This is a lot, she says with a shallow shrug. Not looking for forgiveness, Red. After this all over, just drop me from your life if that's what you need. You have every right, and I ain't gonna argue if that's how you want to hash out your well-earned happily ever after. I get it. Until then, though, you're stuck with me until the job's done. You need help saving the universe, and I'm gonna be the one of many giving it, Thorn says, before opening the cargo bay door again. Fair enough, Simone replies, as she watches him depart. There was still a lot for her to process from that, yet he was right. The universe needs saving, and such things can wait until it's saved. Well, more like delay the inevitable. But that's all she knows that she could possibly accomplish. Maybe in another generation or two. Someone else will take up the torch in a much more united and prepared galaxy. Walking into the med bay, she set the datapad down and cleared her throat. Hey Dave, I'm going to be talking to our friendly swarm of worms. Mind watching over me? She asks. Dave's spherical body twitches oddly, before fully addressing the Terran, almost as though it was deep in an interrupted thought. Can do, my dude, and hey! Congrats on getting hitched. Saw the whole thing, and don't worry, bruh. The wet dress wasn't like all that revealing when you stepped out, Dave replies, as he pulls out one of the worms Simone was gifted with from a tube. Thanks, bud, Simone smiles, as she sits herself on the medical bed. Best day of my life. I'm glad it happened just before shit hit the fan. Too bad we'll be postponing that camping trip we were hoping to do. Yeah, that's life sometimes. Schedules rearrange, events come up, universe gets crabs, etc. But you'll have that trip, I'm sure, Dave responds, as he puts the worm in the redhead's hand. Dave, shit is getting more real than ever. We expected it to, but it's here. So, Since I might not get the chance in the future, I want you to know that you've been instrumental in helping me find a better place, Simone informs. I hope this isn't a goodbye, but artificial or not, you've been a great friend. I appreciate everything you've done for me, said to me, everything. Thank you. And take care of everyone if the worst comes, alright? Whoa! I can only imagine the send-off you're going to give the toaster, or the fancy dildos, Dave jokes. But dude, don't worry, man. You'll come back in one piece, and if you don't, well, nothing I haven't dealt with before on, like, several occasions. I'll put your fleshy bits and gross blood tubes all back together. Don't you worry, She-Hulk. And of course, that goes for everyone else. I know you will, Simone says, before taking a deep breath and placing Vermis to the nape of her neck. As she connects to the grand cosmic hive mind, she immediately feels a sense of unease within it. Even Vermis was scared of what's occurring across the stars. Thatch, we believe the final stage is being set. Time is not on our side, they say. Agreed. So just fully read my consciousness. I have a plan, Simone fully grants. She feels the Vermis' presence sink deeper into her own self, almost feeling completely united with them as one. If we were to do such, we may cause much more mass panic and chaos, they say, as it pulls back from the Terran's mind. Maybe, but I don't see better options. I know it's a big sell, but if we get Burnell fully on board and in support, it will be far easier to accomplish, Simone insists. Exposing ourselves in such a way, even if totally successful, what would stop the people of the stars pointing their weapons on us? We may prove to be just as much of a threat as the Manarians in their judgments. We will defend ourselves and prove them correct if such occurs, Vermis argues. Additionally, simply doing as you desire, we would expand our mass and collect it to a point we, ourselves, do not know of the consequence. Our nature is altered from our original form to such a degree, we don't know what we would become, they warn. A hero, Simone responds immediately in the near laugh. Paranoia around you is going to be impossible to avoid. There will be people who are going to assume the worst of you, just because of what you are and not who you are. You shouldn't have to, but you will have to prove yourself to the stars. Take from me, I know that experience all too well. And even if in your case it's on a completely other level than anything I could ever endure, I believe that if you openly show who you are through your actions, like me, you'll find friends who will back you up, myself included. Simone closes her eyes to put all of her focus on the still very hesitant being connected in her mind. I know you want to hide because you are hurt. You are unjustly hurt, more than I can comprehend. Flashes of her father's death course through her mind, followed by a succession of having to kill her family one by one, drowning in drugs within seedy corners of the universe, sometimes paying professional Deathworld women just to feel something good, being kidnapped by an insane cult, discovering the truth of her father's fate, the current maliciousness of Ember, and everything that woman has done throughout her whole life. But all that doesn't mean you should be defined by it. Already you've come so far, and I am so proud of you, Vermis. I know I'm asking a lot, and I'm so sorry that I'm potentially pushing you towards more hurt in the future. But I swear, this time you won't be alone. You'll have people, friends even, right next to you and help you through it. Now, flashes of Chuck comforting the redhead as she fights the demons in her head emerge, followed by Dave convincing her to get help, Vin providing it, Miki offering vital survival supplies, Nordren putting her on a drug-induced journey to speak with a Manarian in her head, and Seven's speech about what kind of person Simone was. You will have to fight for it, but you will have a wonderful future. You will experience bliss that you never thought possible. People will accept you, root for you, fight for you, love you. You will have a whole existence to look forward to, all the while being able to look back at every enriching moment that caused you to believe that things might just turn out okay. That you will make it past the biggest trials you can imagine. That you will one day know peace, and that everyone you care about will too, The hurt won't fully go away. Maybe it won't be all much easier to carry it, but you will have so much wonderful fulfillment that it's more than worth still moving forward. Every step, every trip, every skip, every fall, it will be fucking worth it. What was flashes to Simone was a full retelling to Vermis's perception. Every detail, including the now plain moments of Simone seeing Chuck in golden armor standing over her, telling days she wants to live, Vin sitting with her in her dad's old gym, SJ opening up to her with complete trust in her as a mum, Jamie eating pizza for the first time, Chuknuk officiating an absolutely perfect wedding, and every time she felt close to her now wife, both in mind and body. Not all of these memories are in order, but they don't have to be. Regardless of when they happened, and the Terran can pull on them with every step forward through her remaining life. Her spoken words had tangible truth behind them, that Vermis experiences as if they were their own. Although the outcomes of their drastically different situations can be widely different, the hive mind can't help but take a willing impression into themselves of this sole red-furred organism, as they feel a commonality, or something that is genuinely relatable in concept. They sense something, an abstraction really, that they find ironically infectious. A lie, to be precise. A self-given delusion that has little bearing on actual reality. Yet it exists before Vermis as a fuel in the weave of Simone's consciousness and identity. It is decided. We will choose to hold a hope and venture forth into that which we fear most, for ourselves and for the future we desire most. We are Vermis, and the stars will soon know us well. As guardian, ally, and perhaps to some, friend. May we come to not regret this, they conclude. So, you're on board? Simone asks, to be certain. No, Thatch. We have already set our sails to the cosmic winds. We will not fail in what you request. You have our promise. The wrath of Vermis will be shown to the stars, and they will be grateful for it.